We're just gonna wait a couple of seconds to let everybody log in and get situated before we start our presentation this evening with our special guest. Thanks so much for being here this evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we're so excited to have Carmen here.
And feel free to use the Q&A and the chat to ask questions or converse or comment. We'll be there looking for them.
Yeah, feel free to introduce yourself, say where you're watching from, what you're reading. We'll be responding to all of that as we go through our evening. All right. I'm just going to quick turn our intro slide off while we're talking to Carmen, so everybody just get situated, and then I'm just going to stop my screen here. All right, perfect. Okay, it's about 6:02 now, so I'm just going to be quiet for a second, and then we'll get started. We are recording, so everyone will receive a link to the recording in a couple of days.
Excellent, excellent.
Mm-hmm. All right. Good evening and welcome everyone to the Milwaukee Public Library Book Chat program. Each month we focus on a different theme and occasionally bring in guests from the community. My name is Beth. I usually work at the Milwaukee Public Library East Branch, and with me tonight is my esteemed colleague Mary, who usually works at the King Branch, and behind the scenes is our programming librarian Christina Gomez. She'll be chatting with you in the background while you're here. Attendees are encouraged to use the chat box and to talk with one another, share what you're reading and where you're from tonight. And please feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A box as we go through our chat with Carmen this evening. Also, as being part of our program this evening, you're all going to be automatically enrolled in a giveaway. We have 4 film vouchers to give away from the Milwaukee Film Festival.
All right.
Vouchers will be good for a film from one of their slate of programming from the Women's History Month program that they're running right now. So we'll let you know how that works at the end. Basically, we'll email you a code if you do win, and you can use that to get one of the films.
Very nice.
Thank you, Milwaukee Film. Please check them out. They're a great partner. And then without further ado, I'm going to throw it over to Mary, and Mary's going to introduce Carmen, who is our guest this evening. So go ahead, Mary.
Okay. U.S. native Carmen Alicia Murguía is an award-winning author, educator, and community builder, a graduate of the prestigious Loft Literary Center's Inroads Latino Chicano Writers Program in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Carmen is the author of The Voices Inside, Carmen, The New Carmen, in this opera, our heroine lives, Love, Poetry and a Short Story, and A Poem for All My People. Carmen appears in multiple anthologies and reviews, has read widely, and conducts workshops on finding your voice, navigating life after the closet, and the intersections of culture and identity. Carmen loves traveling to beachfront climates, dancing to R&B and cumbayas, spending time with her 91-year-old mother, and most importantly, makes time for love.
That's
This
right.
is Carmen's 30th anniversary of being a poet. Welcome to the chat, Carmen.
Gracias. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Christina. And the new director, Joan Johnson. Yay. I'm so honored to be here this evening.
That's awesome. So Carmen, we know you as a regular patron at the Milwaukee Public Library. Both Mary and I have been so lucky to help you with reference questions and all sorts of great stuff when you've come in. Growing up, when your parents heard you say, "Can I go to the library?" why were they so excited about that when you were a child?
Yeah, because I wasn't getting into a fight, or I wasn't being asked to go to the principal's office, or I wasn't hanging out on 10th and Mitchell. I was actually doing something productive, and I was just immersed in books, and I would come home with a sack of books, and I would just immerse myself with words. I was a spelling bee champion in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for Catholic schools in the state of Wisconsin. So awesome. They love that. And I was a very active child. So If I wasn't into sports, basketball, volleyball, softball, you name it. If I wasn't doing sports, I was at the library, or like Mary said, dancing cumbias.
What was your branch growing up?
Forest Home Library. And then, so it was Forest Home Library from, I was born in 66. So when we grew up on 7th and Mitchell, so till about 1980, and then we moved to Sherman Park, and right across the street, we're right on the corner of Sherman and North, and right directly across the street was Finney Library. I loved it. Again, I did my homework there. I was in high school and would get off the bus and go right to the library, you know?
That's so great.
I love the library.
Well, I'm glad that we've brought you over to King and East now, because as we all know who live here, Finney and Mitchell or Forest Home are no longer in service, and they've turned into Washington Park Library and Mitchell Street, which I'm
very nice,
very beautiful and nice new branches that I hope everybody can visit.
And I've got to say, I'm honored to know that Mitchell, East, Shorewood, Whitefish Bay, and Central Libraries all carry my books.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we'll put the link in our follow-up email where you all can put Carmen's work on hold, all of the stuff that we have in our collection, which we would love you to be able to check out. I love that. So when we met before we came to the show today, we kind of were talking, and you talked to me a little bit about coming out 2 times as a woman who loves women and as a poet, and how it was magical for you. So I wanted you to share that story with everyone who's here tonight.
So the 2 worlds merged, and when I came out as a poet, it was such a like you said, a magical time in my life. This was 1991, and I was living in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and loving my life out there and being free to be who I was, away from Milwaukee, away from my family of origin, away from the streets, from the police, from everything that I ran from, but found myself in another city and was able to be a part of the pride that was Minneapolis for me. And then when I started writing I wrote my first 5 poems for the competition for the Loft Literary Center. And out of, like I was telling you, out of 350 statewide applicants, I was one of 6 selected. And those poems, when I wrote them, were very poignant to who I was as both a Latina, as a Mexican and a Mexican American, and being a woman who loves women. And there was no hiding it, because that's how the poems came out. They were my life, they were my experience. And there was no turning back after that.
Muted my mic. That's such a beautiful story. When did you realize you were a poet initially?
Initially, I would say in grade school. In grade school, I went to St. Anthony's for elementary school, and I found that I had more attention span for shorter writing and shorter reading pieces. And so I couldn't really write really long short stories, but I would write vignettes, or I would write poems because they were short and to the point. And then when I got to high school, I was a painter. I was an artist, a visual artist. I would draw, I would do mosaics, I would do batik. I loved it. But my favorite was doing abstract art. And my friends loved my work, but they'd say, and they're like, oh, can I have that one, Carmen? I'll buy it from you. And they're like, but what does it mean? So then I started writing descriptions to go with it, but the descriptions would come out as a poem. And that's what happened. Yeah.
That's so lovely. Do they still have some of your pieces? I would love to see.
Yeah. My friend Harriet has one. My friend Melissa Avila has one. My brother, before he passed, he still had one of my paintings, and it's in the house somewhere, in my parents' house somewhere. So yeah, they exist.
You ever consider doing something similar to that now as an adult?
You know, it's interesting. A friend of mine asked me that the other day. She's like, I didn't know you were a visual artist. And I'm like, yeah, you know. And I think what crushed me was when I submitted my portfolio to the Minneapolis College of Art and Design in high school and to the Chicago Art Institute. I was crushed because I went high, you know. I think I also submitted to the Rhode Island School of Design. And I said, you know, why play with it? And I wasn't accepted. You know, they said, oh, we'd like to see more. But to me, that was crushing. And I said, oh, I'm giving it all up. It was all or nothing, you know, which is, I've found the gray area since then. So that's good. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Speaking of visual art, when we were putting the graphics together for the program, you sent the cover of one of your books, and I just love the illustration. So,
isn't it beautiful?
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the artist and show
Yeah, I'm excited. This is my 2017, my latest collection, entitled A Poem for All My People. And it's illustrated by Gabriela Riveros, who is a River Wester. She goes by Chanchita Riveros, and she's a graphic designer and illustrator. And I found her at Milwaukee Film. Oh my God, this is like...
Oh, like everything's coming together.
Everything's coming together. So I saw her do a presentation because she was selected by Milwaukee Film one year for doing their artwork. And I said, that's what I want. I had no idea. I said, I've got a new collection coming. I don't know what it's going to be. And next thing you know, I'm like, that's what I want. I went right up to her, and she's a millennial, you know, she's a young, hip girl. And she was having her cocktail and she's talking to two of her little friends. And here I come bulldozing. I'm Carmen Murguía, and I want you to do my next book. And with many conversations, she went home to Latin America, and she came back, opened up her laptop, saw my work, and said, I want to do it. So,
That's amazing. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and then check this one out. Look at this. This one.
Oh goodness, that's gorgeous.
Isn't that gorgeous? That's my handwriting.
Okay.
She illustrated around my handwriting.
That's so special.
And this piece is entitled An Ode to My Ovaries, as seen by Inez Luna, a Tejana midwife.
Huh? That's beautiful.
Yeah, she does beautiful work. Here's another one.
Carmen, do you write every day?
That's a good question. I journal. I journal daily.
Okay.
I journal in the morning or at night, or sometimes, you know, when I'm sitting in my car, I'll write. If I hear a song, I always carry a notepad or what are those called? Post-its and a pen. I'm never empty-handed. So definitely music influences a lot of my writing. So I'm always listening to music in my car, and I'll pull over. If I hear something like Maxwell has influenced my writing, R. Kelly, you name it, Isley Brothers, I'll start to write.
I think I've heard throughout life that that's an important earmark for a writer to, you know, that you need to be able to journal and make journaling a part of your life. Yes. On a daily basis, if possible.
Yes.
So that's interesting.
Yes, it is. And poems will come to me at any hour, any day, you name, anywhere. And sometimes, just free writing. And sometimes the entire piece will come out, and I'll look up and I'll say, thank you, God. Thank you, universe. Thank you. Because they just fall. Just, beautifully. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So as we're getting to the halfway point, we were wondering if you would share a piece of your work with us today, read one of your poems for our patrons.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So this piece that I'm going to read to you is entitled, When I Grow Up, I Want to Be a Mariachi. It's the 30th anniversary of When I Grow Up, I Want to Be a Mariachi. And you know what? It still holds true to today. What's so fascinating about this poem is that it's my anthem. It is one I don't get tired of. If I don't read it at a reading, people say, hey, did I miss When I Grow Up, I Want to Be a Mariachi? Or could you go back and do an encore and read When I Grow Up, I Want to Be a Mariachi? I'm like, okay, so that's all you miss. You know, like you're going to focus on what you missed. And I'm like, okay, no problem. So When I Grow Up, I Want to Be a Mariachi appears in both The Voices Inside, which is a handmade chapbook, okay? And that I did, my first lover and I lived together on Wall Avenue, and I used the kitchen to create my first chapbook. And then I remember going to my mother and dad's house, and I had to finish up some more for a reading. And imagine making hundreds of these because the demand was there. And I said, oh my God, people really love this. Because book arts was real big in Minneapolis. I didn't know it was big in Milwaukee, but people loved it. And the photographer was Carmen Valentine, who did the cover of the book. And it appears in my first anthology that I appeared in. It's called Between the Heart and the Land, Entre el Corazón y la Tierra, Latina Poets in the Midwest. And this anthology is edited by Brenda Cardenas and Johanny Vasquez Paz. And I'm going to read to you now, When I Grow Up, I Want to Be a Mariachi. One who strides through La Plaza, surrounded by guitarras and charm and harmony, in a black wool charo outfit, embroidered in white silk detail, snakeskin Tony llamas, beneath a sombrero trimmed in gold, with a velvety smooth voice to match, serenading women the songs they remind me of, canciones de amor. When I grow up, I want to be a mariachi, because as it is right now, my choices are limited to becoming a wife, a cook, a mother, or a lover without a man to depend on. So I'm told, without revealing my dreams to anyone. 7-year-old shouldn't look at other little classmates the way I look at you and want so much to serenade you with songs of love. It's not right, they say. So if I must be a man in order to experience your eyes watching my hands command la guitarra and your body quivering every time I crowd your name with an ay, and your hands applauding in Spanish, then let's get on with the operation.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. That's
I could see yours too, Christina.
Yay. I love that so much. What a beautiful poem, and happy anniversary to it. 30 years. Feels like yesterday, I'm sure.
Yeah, it does. It feels like yesterday. I've taken that one with me to the Walker in Minneapolis, to the Centro Cultural Chicano in Minneapolis, to City Minneapolis Public Library, and then here in Milwaukee, Walker's Point Center for the Arts, Woodland Pattern Book Center, Madison, the University of Wisconsin-Madison Chicano Studies Department and Women's Studies Department, the Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance, the Daughters of the Fifth Son Conference on Letters and Science in San Antonio, Texas, Chicago's Augustine Theater. Yeah, you name it. This poem, when
virtually,
I grew up, mariachi has been there.
Yeah, now here virtually, which is amazing.
Yeah, and here we are virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great.
That's so great. So I also quick asked you when we talked before, do you commemorate Women's History Month in any special way with your friends and family, other than just continuing to do the amazing work that you do all year long anyways?
You know, I remind everyone, did you know it's Women's History Month? And So I'll post quotes, or I'll email people, you know, famous women in history that have touched my life, of all races, of all backgrounds, and all genres of writers and artists and musicians. And I'll listen. It's interesting. I listen to more women's music, you know, a lot of hip hop, a lot of R&B, and I'll listen to more of women's music. And yeah, I would say I celebrate in a big way because of the fact that it's important. I think I really came into my womanhood in Minneapolis. So much has happened in Minneapolis, so that's why I reference it a lot. But I came into my womanhood when I decided, I think I was 24 years old when I decided it was okay for me to be a woman. And imagine, as a little girl, like feeling second class for a long time, and that, you know, hey, where do we belong? Hey, where am I going to see myself? Hey, when am I important? And I finally owned, and I even owned my body, like as a woman. Like I had a great body, I had a great figure, and I finally, you know, owned up to, I love wearing some Anne Klein. I love my skirts. I love my Donna Karan. I'm going to wear this, and my blouses, you know. And then since then, I went to button-down shirts, and that's like my signature, black and some color, a splash of color. And so I remember freaking everybody out at my parents' 50th wedding anniversary when I showed up in a dress and pumps, and people, like my cousins, were like, "Is that Licho?" Like, and I'm like, "Yeah, man, I gotta own this. I'm still got my body. I still got this." And I'm just proud to be a woman. And for all the little girls out there watching, I just want you to know, be proud of who you are, and love your body, love yourself, and know that you've got a place. And if anything, you have a place in my heart.
Nice.
Be happy. When I sent the follow-up email, I found your Shepherd Express article, I think from 2019. That was on International Women's Day that you wrote, and it really was touching and amazing. So I'll include that when we follow up with everyone in a couple days.
Great.
You were writing for them for a while too, which is amazing.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite writing assignments, was being a freelancer and a columnist for the Shepherd Express, and having that Latina voice there, as a Latina, as a lesbian, and just my perspective. That was really important time in my life. Yeah.
Yep, and you can access all of Carmen's articles on their website, theshepherdexpress.com. So definitely check that out. I did. Does anybody have any questions for Carmen? I've been kind of watching the chat in the Q&A box so far, and nothing has popped up yet. Otherwise, feel free to keep putting them in there. We're gonna quick flip it over to our book recommendations this evening then, and feel free to just drop anything that you'd like to ask Carmen before the evening is over. Somebody just asked, when does your next collection come out?
That's a good question.
Lydia.
I'm actually, hey Lydia. Lydia's in Tampa, Florida. Hello, Tampa.
Hey.
Hey. I'm thinking at the end of this year, because like I said, I have to do a 30th anniversary collection. I think that's really important. So a very good question. I will certainly let everyone know when that comes to fruition. And I'm shopping for an agent right now, and to really get this 30th anniversary collection out around the world. That would be lovely. Yeah.
I just put Carmen's email address into the chat box, which you said is the best way for people to kind of get in touch with you and follow you right now while your website is getting built, correct?
Pardon me?
I just put your email address in the chat.
Great.
Best way for people to get a hold of you now.
Yeah, you can get a hold of me at murguiaprojects@outlook.com. Absolutely.
Perfect. Lydia also says the mariachi needs a part 2.
It does. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. What happened to the mariachi now? Did she become one? And what road has she taken? I love that. Yeah.
All right. And then Eric has asked, when is your next reading?
My next reading. Well, I'm hoping absolutely. National Poetry Month, everyone. Mark your calendars. April is National Poetry Month. So I usually do something either the last day or the last week of April. So I will keep everyone tuned in and let you know when that next reading is in April, for sure, for sure. Thank you, Eric. Eric from the south side of Milwaukee.
Woo!
Yeah, soon to be professor.
Excellent. Okay, it looks like that is all the questions for right now. I'm going to go ahead and turn our slides back up and then we can start our book recommendations. We usually run through these pretty quick.
Okay.
So we'll start with Carmen, but let me just get that pulled up shortly. And I know-
thank you everybody for being here.
Yeah, and I know Mary has already drawn 2 winners of the Milwaukee Film passes. So just stay tuned. Mary, did you want to say who the first 2 are?
Sure. Drum roll, please. We have Barbara Melendez as our first winner.
Barbara, great, from Indiana, yay.
And our second winner is Eileen Schalk.
Nice, congratulations.
Congratulations, ladies.
We will email you 2 with the information for how you can get your voucher for Milwaukee Film in a couple days. So thank you for being here. Okay, let's get to our book recommendations. We're gonna let Carmen go first. So our theme, of course, was Women's History Month. So
yeah, did you want to bring them up or should I just show them?
There we go.
Okay, great, great. So Susie Orman, I love Susie. I was turned on to Susie's Women in Money book years ago by my friend Judy Andino. And she said, Carmen, you know, this is the best resource for getting your money together. The second book, Women, Work, and the Art of Savoir-Faire. I love that book. If you want to know about being a woman in the workplace and about elevating your career, but through stories, because my attention span, again, is short and to the point. And then The House of Mango Street changed my life. When Sandra Cisneros came out with that book, it was also 1991. We had dinner the night she came to the Walker together, and it's just like transforming. It just certified and solidified I was on the right track. And one of my favorites is The Lesbian Love Companion, because it had stories of actual relationships as told through the eyes of the lens of a therapist, psychotherapist. And I said, oh my God, this is my life. And I needed some tips.
Very good. Again, don't worry about having to write all these down, everyone. We will send you the complete list with links to the catalog where you can check them out and put them on hold. These are great recommendations, Carmen. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go next. Let me just go to the next slide. Okay, these are all newer books, or they're coming out soon, so you can definitely put them on hold in the catalog right now. They're just, 2 of them aren't published quite yet, but very soon. The first one I chose is Love is an Ex-Country by Rhonda Gerard. And this is a memoir written by a queer Muslim Arab American woman who decides to go on a road trip and kind of recreate this cross-country trip that an Egyptian belly dancer took in the 1940s. So this is a series of essays that she wrote while on this grand American road trip that really explore her identity and asserts that she is here, she is joyful, and her life might be hard, but this is her interior thoughts and hopes and dreams. So I'm really excited to read this. I've been kind of craving a road trip myself, and I think this would be a great one to even maybe listen to while you're driving. The next one I chose, I wanted to pick a poetry book that I was excited about because my 2021 goal was to add more poetry into my life. So I'm doing a pretty good job. This one is called I Am the Rage by Dr. Martina McGowan. These poems were mostly written, I think entirely written in 2020, shortly after the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, just to name two. It's written by a retired medical doctor, a mother, a grandmother, and a poet. These are difficult to read and full of, as the title indicates, rage, hopelessness, fear, also hope and joy is on top of those things. The poetry really puts people in the uncomfortable position of feeling, reflecting, and feeling what it means to be a Black American. So a small book, but very powerful. Wow. And then the third one is Wild Women and the Blues by Denny S. Bryce. And I have to tell everyone, this is me judging a book, number one, by its cover, because the cover is absolutely gorgeous. And also for the summary, which I was completely drawn into. This is one where it's a filmmaker in 2015 is interviewing a 110-year-old woman named Honorée Delacour about her career and trying to find some missing information that he needs for both his personal life and the project he's working on. And then the story shoots you back to 1925 jazz era Chicago, where you follow along with Honorée and her life and find some secrets out. And it just sounds like an amazing historical fiction tale that I'm so excited to read. And I believe this is the debut book for this author. So definitely get that one on hold. Okay, and now I'm done. And I think we have Christina next. So Christina's our programming librarian. She's been hanging out in the background. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Christina.
Hi everyone. Yep, as Beth said, I'm Christina Gomez. I do programming for the library and happy to share these three titles. The first one is called Writing Wild, Women, Poets, Ramblers, and Mavericks Who Shape How We See the Natural World by Catherine Alto. This came out last year. This was actually recommended to us by another patron who participated in the library's summer reading program that we have for adults. And I checked it out right after they recommended it and I just fell in love with it. So it profiles 25 women, so both historical and those still alive, who are really writing about the natural world and their place in it. So these women are scholars, they might be scientists, novelists, explorers, conservationists, poets. So people like Dorothy Wordsworth and Rachel Carlson and Camille Dungy. So really prominent women who are writing about nature. So if you're someone who enjoys nature writing and poetry, I definitely recommend it. I describe it as being part like literary biography and part cultural history. And it's a pretty quick read with some great illustrations. The second book is called She Came to Slay, The Life and Times of Harriet Tubman by Erica Armstrong Dunbar. This came out in 2019. So Dr. Dunbar teaches at Rutgers. I think this is her third book. It's just a really accessible tribute to Harriet Tubman. It's illustrated, which I think is one of the best parts about it. So I would say this would be great for young readers being introduced to Harriet Tubman, and then also just anyone who wants to learn a bit more about what an amazing activist Tubman was. There's a huge timeline that's part of the book. There are new photos that have been published within it, commissioned illustrations, and really cool chapters like Harriet by the numbers. So things like the number of times Tubman went back down south, how many people she rescued, things like that. So as you can tell by the title, this is a little mix of like pop culture-ish stuff along with scholarship, which is just a different way, I think, of learning about history. So I wanted to include that. Cool. And then this last one is Sabrina and Karina Stories by Callie Fajardo and Steen. This came out in 2019. I feel like every year I have a book that I just can't stop talking about. in 2020, that was Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. But the year before that, it was this book, Sabrina and Karina. I am a huge fan of short stories. So I just tend to read those as much as I can, and this one blew me away. This is Kelly Fajardo Anstein's debut story collection, and it focuses on mothers and daughters, Latinas of Indigenous ancestry. Everything is set in Denver and sort of west of Denver, so very place focused, but just really describing the complexity of familial relationships. But everything is threaded with like also the power of the feminine, like capital F. So I just really adore its collection.
Very cool. Very cool.
Great. Thank you, Christina. These are great. Okay, next we have Mary.
Mary.
Okay. Well, I chose for my books this month. The first one is The Soul of a Woman by Isabella Allende. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Isabella Allende. She's a pretty prolific writer. This is brand new. This was published in 2021. And in The Soul of a Woman, Allende opens with the belief that she has been a feminist since she was in kindergarten. She has developed her feminism through watching her mother care for her and her siblings after being abandoned by their father, and becoming a woman in the 60s known as the second wave of feminism. Allende writes as one would talk, describing her life, her routines, illuminating those things that are important to women: to be respected, to own their bodies and their lives, to have peace, and to be loved. Reading The Soul of a Woman is like sitting down with a good friend and sharing an afternoon of good conversation. And the second book I chose, which I thought was really important, The Three Mothers by Anna Maleka Chubbs. This is also brand new this year, published in 2021. And Louise Little, who was the mother of Malcolm X, Alberta King, the mother of Martin Luther King Jr., and Bertus Baldwin, the mother of James Baldwin, were mighty women. They raised three mighty men. You don't become the strong civil rights leaders that were King, Malcolm X, and Baldwin just by waking up one day. Wow. They were guided and directed by women whose beliefs and values were at the core of the civil rights movement. In this book, Tubbs looks at these three women and the day-to-day routines that were instilled in their children that formed them into leaders.
Very nice. Wow.
They're awesome.
Oh, wonderful books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those were our recs. And as you all know, we will email you the complete list with links after the show in a couple days. I want to again just say thank you to Milwaukee Film for donating those vouchers. So some of our participants can get to the movies. If you're able to, you can go on to mkefilm.org and check out their full lineup. They are hosting a lot of events virtually as well. So even if you don't watch some of the films, you can definitely attend those as well. I want to also let everyone know next month, we're going to be talking with our next special guest, author Neho Vo, on April 9th at 6 p.m. She is a science fiction and horror and fantasy writer and author of the acclaimed Empress of Salt and Fortune, which came out in 2020. With the heart of Atwood's tales and visuals of a classic Asian period drama, The Empress of Salt and Fortune is a tightly and lushly written narrative about empire storytelling and the anger of women. So we're really excited that she'll be joining us for our chat next month.
That'll be deep.
I hope you all can make it. And thank you to Slides Carnival for our slides this evening, which I got from them. I'm going to stop my share. And then, of course, we do want to thank Carmen for joining us. Thank you so much. Any ending words of wisdom or where we can follow you?
Oh, yeah, it's my honor. Thank you so much. So follow me at murguiaprojects@outlook.com. So just send me your information. You can pick up my books. I've got, in fact, I have 3. If you, right now, if you inbox Mary or Beth or Christina, just go ahead and put your name and address in that. I will sign a copy. All right. So I'll need, you can send me your, shoot me an email with your name, your address, your phone number, so I can get a hold of you, and I'll do signed copies. They're $19.95 each one. Visit the Milwaukee Public Library and check out my books, or lulu.com. That's LULU.com. And they carry 3 of my 5 collections. And just put in LULU.com, Carmen Murguía, and it'll bring up my bookstore. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my honor.
Yeah, this was so wonderful. I want to thank all of our attendees for giving us your time this evening as well. And we will be.
Gracias, everybody.
Yes, thank you. And have a good evening. Thank you.
Good night.
And Christina and Carmen. It was good being here with all of you.
Gracias, Mary, Christina.
Good to see you, Carmen.
My pleasure. Good to see you too.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
I'm going to end our presentation. Bye.